Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 239th edition of Cinema Effect. This week, the movie we're reviewing is Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which opened in the US on December 14th, 1997. 1977, not 1997. Well done. It was directed by Steven Spielberg. It is a sci-fi drama, and the synopsis says, Roy Neary, an Indiana Electric lineman, finds his quiet and ordinary daily life turned upside down after a close encounter with a UFO, spurring him to an obsessed cross-country quest for answers as a monumentous event approaches. Wow, actually, I got through that with only one botch. Nice. Jaden, you've never seen this film. None of us have ever seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind. What did you think of it?
I think that's a tragedy that none of us have seen it, dude. I think this is amongst Spielberg's best.
Wow.
I'll come out the gates rearing with that one. I think that this film treats sci-fi with such a respect that so many films don't these days. I think sci-fi has become a tool. It's kind of become an excuse to kind of show where you are. Like it's becoming an excuse to show cool ideas without truly like having this like respect for the mystery around them. Whereas I think this like respects the mystery of sci-fi to the utmost degree, and I think it's wonderful to see. I think a few films still come around and have this like kind of bewilderment for, you know, this kind of thing. I think Blade Runner does it really well amongst recent examples. But I just think that what Spielberg captures here is brilliant. I think that this film functions almost as a precursor to Fabelmans in a kind of allegory about his little life, about like kind of obsession and kind of how, you know, like us, like how I think it's a deeply personal one. I think quite a few of Spielberg's films are, but I think you can see it quite a bit in this one, especially with it like the domestic unit and how it kind of splits apart with obsession, and like this kind of pursuit. I think this is like really brilliant, and I wasn't expecting it, especially when I saw the 2 hours 17 runtime. I was like, that feels too long, but I think like it is a long and slow film, but I think the build up is truly like worth it because it is just the best of payoffs in like such a spectacular way that like I don't know, sci-fi doesn't get this treatment very often. I feel like.
Wow.
Did my camera shoot itself, by the way?
Yeah. Genuine question: Is Arrival one of those ones that you'd classify as respecting sci-fi? Because I was sort of making comparisons to it at times.
Yeah. I think it would be one of the other ones that does.
Like when you asked that question before it cut out again, I just had to quickly flick through like the sci-fi films I've seen, and I've kind of like this feeling that the feeling that Close Encounters and captured, and with these two examples that we just mentioned of the Villeneuve films, like it truly is rare. Like because like I look at like most of these other sci-fi films and they don't have that same weight that these ones can command in regards to the genre as well as just like the rest of them, like the quality, like in regards like the rest of the filmmaking process for each product.
Yeah,
the weight of the genre hangs heavy with Close Encounters and Arrival and that kind of thing.
Yeah. This whole idea that you're touching on is interesting. I hadn't really considered it, but in terms of respect for the genre and the weight of it, I find that interesting. I agree with it. I do. Yeah, I don't know. This film's very interesting. I liked it. There were some characters and scenes that I wasn't super invested in, but I think it's very well directed with some great atmosphere building, some really striking shots and scenes, and I think it's somewhat compelling as a story, and understanding some historical context helped me as well. But because there was a few questions I sort of had as I was watching it, and then I sort of did some Googling after, which helped, and then. As a movie and as a visual experience, I'm glad I experienced it. There was a lot compelling going on screen at the very least, for sure. I don't know. It's a very, very interesting film. I'm glad I've seen it for sure. Fitzy, what was your reaction to it? Were you on the side of that review that Andy posted saying it was boring?
I just saw that in the Discord, right?
Yeah.
No, I think it had like some extremely strong moments where it was just like, I think this is what Jaden's kind of alluding to, but like those moments of kind of awe at the kind of mystery that sci-fi can bring, and just this film's whole theme of like belief, and there's moments where like belief is like rewarded, I suppose. So yeah, I think like there was some like especially that early encounter near the train station. I think is kind of amazing. But yeah, overall I think it was good. There was definitely some kind of lulls. It did feel kind of long at points, but I think I can see where that mystery is kind of sustained and elevated, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with all that. Was anything spoiled for you guys before watching it? Because I knew nothing really about this movie.
No, I didn't even really. For some reason, I didn't think aliens would turn up at the end. I just didn't.
Neither. Yeah.
Yeah. I've only know of like a couple of images, like him hanging out the car and looking at bright lights, and like a general kind of idea of like that final spaceship, and like that was about all I knew.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think I'd seen the poster and like knew very little about it. I think sort of the most that was spoiled for me, oddly, about it was actually seeing the rating of it being PG before I clicked on it, just because, like, in terms of that mystery and the tension that it sort of establishes of the unknown, and in those early encounters that we're talking about of, like, just I don't know, you just really there's such an unknown around them of like who the aliens are and what their motives are and like how threatening they are, that like I could very well, just taking the movie as a fresh experience, I could very well have at any point felt like it was going to turn violent or something. You know what I mean? Up until really at the end.
I think that scene where Barry disappears, there's like shit tons of echoes in that in War of the Worlds. That scene in the house. Yeah, in Spielberg's War of the Worlds.
Okay.
That scene in the house in War of the Worlds when like they're in the basement and like the alien like the arms and like shit and all that.
I honestly don't remember it, but sure.
like that felt very akin to that. So like I definitely get your like rating confusion.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Just in terms of those scenes by themselves, they felt threatening. They felt horror-esque in my opinion. With the sound and the score and everything, and like I really didn't know which way it was going to go in terms of how bad the aliens are or if they were going to attack at any point. Like when you get to the end and and the mothership comes down, like I just, again, fresh experience, I wouldn't have been shocked at all if like they started opening fire. You know what I mean? Just like maybe it had been a bit too long in the movie for me to really feel that way. But like the PG rating is really the only thing that made me think that wasn't going to happen. Like if I just turned on the movie fresh, or fresher, I guess, then that sense of threat was always there to some extent, which I think is what the film is trying to play with, right? And it sort of makes me think. It sort of makes me think like. I mean, I can't remember anything about War of the Worlds and the trivia at the time for it, but it always makes me think, like, why did Spielberg make War of the Worlds? Because this feels like the anti-War of the Worlds. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think so. In thinking about the film and what it was trying to bring to the table, like, I think a modern audience point of view, I can understand being a bit bored by it. Like, I think some of the lulls, I imagine that we're going to touch on. Like for me, it was some of the family stuff. And Jaden's already brought up a really great point about how making the parallels to the Fabelmans and the family dynamics for Spielberg in that stuff. So I didn't even really think of that. That's really interesting. But for me, some of the lulls were there with sort of Roy's character and stuff. So I can understand being bored by it, and then especially getting to the ending and it just being kind of, I don't know, like straightforward and one note.
I think it definitely can be seen as like an anticlimax.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I think that's what I love it for. Yeah. We'll get to it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get to it, because I think the thing that made me, I was thinking that at first, like, okay, this is kind of boring. This is kind of, I get it. The aliens left and they whatever. But for the time, I had this thought that entered my mind was like, for the time, maybe a lot less common to see this kind of positive, hopeful portrayal of aliens in general and like human connection with them and the optimism around that? That was just a thought that entered my mind as the film was ending. I'm like, maybe for the time this was quite spectacular to see an ending like this, you know, even though I'm sort of just sitting here taking it for granted. And I Googled it, and like that's what the conclusion that I came to as well, is that everyone was kind of like, well, this film was deliberately trying to sort of go against Cold War paranoia and all the negative portrayals of you know, an outer invasion force coming in, and that's kind of like the whole anti-war of the world thing, you know, where that's what was seen at the time.
Yeah, I was going to bring up, like, so much of the 50s and 60s sci-fi is, you know, a very thinly veiled propaganda for, like, you know, kind of anti-communist rhetoric. And I love it for that, because like it's so fun to play with, like, you know, like it's such a fun thing to play with and like view nowadays.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, like it's definitely subverting the genre expectation at the time, because like you were using the genre as a propaganda machine. And I mean, like, you know, I mean, obviously, like all films, you know, can do that, whatever. But like, it's just such a staunch kind of pushback against like what was established. I just love that it was like, I just think there was such like a pure bewilderment and like kind of joy at this kind of resolution that they start communicating through music. And like it's just such a magical sense that, like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think I love how like obviously the military is there, but like that actual like encounter scene is very like it's not like the military is not present. Like I don't think there's really many guns in that scene. And
no,
like,
there's no real standoffish nature to it.
There's never like a fear. It always feels like a. I mean, they mention, you know, it's like, well, what if they're not friendly or whatever? I think, yeah, but it just felt pure and wonderful. I don't know, man.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. It definitely did. And that's sort of what makes me appreciate, is that if I put myself back into like an audience member sitting there in the 70s, and they're all going to the theater expecting it like an almost horror film where the aliens, you know, are messing with the humans and then attack, or what, you know, all that kind of shit that they've seen before. I don't know like what people's expectations were going in, but I imagine it was more leaning that way. And to walk out and that sort of be the ending of that subversion of it being like the whole thing was a positive, wonderful, you know, like awe-inspiring sort of experience, then I can see like walking out of that theater being like, wow, that was really nice. That was really interesting. That was really, you know, it leaves you with a bit of optimism, which I think that's really cool. That's a really cool note to sort of leave the film on and do that. It's just that obviously viewing that through the modern lens, like that can sort of be lost, which I understand. Like without me going down this train of thought, like I can understand just turning on this movie and being like, boring. Like if you're like, you know, just watching it in 2025 without thinking about it kind of thing. I do understand that point of view a little bit. But I don't know. But at the same time, it's like, it's kind of like, well, didn't we talk about this for Aliens? Where it was like apparently revolutionary for the action genre at the time, and I watch it now and I've seen all this shit 100 times and it's just boring. But even though it originated it. But I don't know, that's kind of different, I feel like. Where even though it's not as interesting just watching it in and of itself now, going back and adding this context to it does add a wrinkle to the experience for me still. Going back and watching Aliens doesn't add a wrinkle to the experience. It's just like, okay, like I get it. But like, there's no historical interesting, you know.
What products do you compare the ending to? Or like that, like is like this like kind of friendly thing? Like where?
I mean, honestly, probably E.T., which I get is like makes
a couple of years after, yeah.
It's kind of E.T., to be honest with you, but like,
yeah,
E.T. is a much more family oriented, adventure oriented. I don't know, like what's the best way to put that? Like Hollywood, I guess, version of this in a way.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
it's almost like Spielberg like wanted to do this film again, but like for a younger audience without the guise of subverting expectation necessarily. Because I don't know if people watching E.T. thinking E.T. is going to kill everyone. You know what I mean? At that point, maybe not. I don't know. So I think maybe the expectations were a bit different for that, but ultimately it kind of feels like ET, to be honest, in terms of the ending. Spoilers for Fitzy who hasn't seen ET. I'm sure he's seen the ending or knows of it or whatever. Hopefully. But what do you think about all this, Fitzy? Does the audience expectation, historical, all this shit, did it add to your experience? Did you think the same thing at all when you were watching it?
Well, I did love the ending. I did think the kind of, when they go into the full musical kind of communication thing, that was kind of awesome.
Yeah, it was.
And it's not. I feel like it's not too corny because obviously they have the re mi do soundbite set up for the whole kind of film. It was surprising, but not overly surprising that it became corny or anything. So it still maintained that awe, I guess. And it was just very cool, especially the kind of visual display of it, seeing the colors on the ship and then the colors that they had in the background for the piano, and how that just kind of got more chaotic as the communication, I guess, became more complex. So I mean, it was anticlimactic in the sense that there was no conflict or anything, but at the same time, it was the ultimate kind of resolution or crescendo. So I think the ending was pretty awesome. In terms of positive, alien experience stuff, it is. I mean, I haven't seen ET, but it does seem kind of like an outsider. They don't usually. I can't really think of any. I mean, Arrival, I guess, is one.
Yeah.
But in terms of something that feels this kind of happy, I guess, or inspiring, heartwarming, I guess. There's not as many examples that I can compare this to. But yeah, I don't really think of it in terms of the alien stuff. I don't feel like I need any historical context, although I think that does add to it the fact that there was no precedent for this. I guess is very cool.
Yeah, and maybe that's part of it too. Is audience understanding or perception of just aliens and the idea of there being extraterrestrial life in general at the time. For me, I don't know. I think most people would agree with me. I think that the idea of there being aliens out there sounds really cool, and something that we're interested in. And I'm not afraid of aliens at all. They definitely could come and wipe us out 100%. I'm not saying that's a very strong possibility. But at the same time, I find the idea of going out and learning about them very interesting, and overall a pursuit worth undertaking. As opposed to at the time, I feel like maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel like most audience members would have just been scared of them or scared of the idea in general, just as a in their own lives kind of thing. So then apply that to the screen and then see it brought to life in a positive way. I can see that changing people's minds or surprising people. Whereas for me, it's just kind of just kind of a common sense belief for me at this point. You know what I mean? So maybe that affects the impact as well.
Well, I think I agree with what Jane was saying and how it transcends the genre just by A, making it not about propaganda, but B, there's this spiritual undertone to the whole film, which is what I think makes that first encounter at the train, at the railway kind of so great. Is those when he looks up and it's kind of that noise or that moment of silence, it's it feels like this ultimate affirmation of belief, I think that's where the film's strongest, where the aliens are, they're a symbol for faith, basically, or for obsession, as Jaden said. Yeah.
Is that what you mean in terms of respecting sci-fi and taking it seriously, Jaden, as opposed to just sort of boiling everything down to basic conflicts kind of thing? Is that what you mean when you see other films doing that?
Almost. I don't even know if I can explain it myself fully, but
if you struggle to explain it, I just know that I think anyone who watched this movie understands exactly what you mean. There's definitely, it's there, you can feel it.
Yeah. like I guess like the kind of comparison I can bring up, I guess, is in Doctor Who, where like in like the remake, in like the 2005 remake, there was like a very like the Doctor became like very strongly like kind of anti-war, anti-gun, which wasn't apparent in like the 70s and 80s series, especially as it continued. Like UNIT became like a whole lot more involved in it, which is like their military organization that fights against aliens. So like it was like then in the remake they got rid of it, and there was like a respect for aliens, and like it was like kind of about it kind of brought sci-fi back to its roots about like discovering aliens and like, you know, kind of it's like it's kind of just sci-fi without the military aspect. I think brings about a degree of respect and weight for it, because it's like, although Doctor Who like does it, like even in the remake series, it does start leaning into like some of it as well, just for some of the storylines. But like in the episodes that it doesn't have it, and then with a film like this, I just think that there's a lot more kind of I don't know. There's a respect and weight there that I don't know. It's kind of yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like everything sort of just derives down to plot and to having to fight. You know what I mean? Or having to win, or I don't know. Yeah, that's sort of what it feels like to me, anyway. Which is funny, like comparing it to ET. Just you saying that made me think of that, because like obviously the military is a huge part of ET, which is kind of. But like they're the villains. So it's Spielberg like sticking with his overall thesis of this film, I guess, but like just boiling it down in a more conventional sort of way that we it sounds like we don't like as much, kind of thing, to make it a more digestible product, probably.
Yeah.
It's interesting. What about like how much did you end up identifying with this as like a Spielberg film throughout as it went? Like, how much of him were you seeing at different points? You know.
Like famously, like the way I've recognized Spielberg films is a kind of like ordinary person in extraordinary situations.
Okay.
That is like his trademark, and I think that's very clear in Ray's story. But then also like I think now since Fabelmans, I also look more for like family dynamic stuff. I think if you look at his films, I think it quite often is like a bit more prevalent there. And so like seeing like I don't know, seeing a fractured family unit in the Nearies or Nearies, whatever they are, but then also you see like the single mother with Barry. I think it's I think his him looking at like families is another kind of identifiable trait.
Yeah. I'm glad you were looking for that, because I wasn't, and I can't disagree at all. That's a great point. That whole family dynamic situation was kind of, I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. Still, because Roy's happy ending is that he gets to leave his family and go off with the aliens. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know. I think it's intentional. I think it's kind of ballsy. But
so I think what it was is that like, so in Fabelmans, his mum like is so caught up in like his mum is so caught up in her like desire for a life with Seth Rogen. That becomes like her driving factor, that she can't shake, that she needs to be with him, and that splinters the family in that film, and then obviously in real life to an extent. And then so in this, it's O'Neary, like Ray's idea is that splinters the family unit, that ultimately leads to a better life for him, and it leads to a life for his actual family.
And like, he's ultimately
his Seth Rogen is the aliens,
right. But yes, but Spielberg though is ultimately, even regardless of it splitting up the family unit, which sort of first flinch reaction sort of makes you feel like, is this wrong? Is this feels odd? Like as it is in the Fabelmans, he's ultimately supportive of it.
Yeah,
and informed by that life experience. That's really interesting. Yeah, he's a believer in people, you know, following their own path and, you know, being who they know they want to be, as opposed to I'm sure just like he has done as a filmmaker, as opposed to keeping whatever sense of, cohesion there is for you to live less individually, I suppose. It's very interesting. I know in this film, I guess it struck me in this film in particular just because I felt that the family, like Roy's family, had significant trauma. I felt after, he started acting up and all that. There's that whole maybe I don't know exactly how I feel about this in terms of maybe if he went a bit too hard in this respect, but like the whole scene where Roy's locked himself in the bathroom and he's, the light and he's spraying himself with the shower, and that the way that completely devolves into chaos with like all the kids crying and his wife losing her mind, and that is family trauma right there in a nutshell. That is pretty serious stuff in my opinion. Like, that was pretty full on in terms of emotional damage that was causing to everyone in the scene. And as a result of that, it just sort of leaves me a bit conflicted that the positive outcome is them all being left by him. Like, what are they going to do now? You know what I mean?
Well, one of them's going to grow up and be a filmmaker. Like, what do you mean?
Oh, which one was Stephen? Probably the older little kid or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, it's just like I'm not saying I had an issue with it necessarily, but I am struggling with it. I am.
Yeah, I don't like it's a difficult thing, and I don't think he's trying to justify. Like, I don't think he's trying to justify him leaving as he's at ends with the family.
Okay.
Which I think the argument could be made regarding like there seems to be like a constant kind of like there seems to be a divide between him and their family in communication and in views and attitude and all that. Yeah. And like I can see that point trying to be made, but I don't think he's trying to justify it in that sense. I just think he's just trying to present it as like, I don't know, maybe like Ray's like consumption of this idea is like I don't know, like compare it to like an artist's kind of like obsession, which I think Spielberg could even be Ray as well.
Roy, just
Roy,
so
sorry,
you don't get killed.
Yeah, Roy. I think Spielberg could be Roy as well in that kind of consumption of the idea, and then pursuing it to ends that kind of alienates you.
Yeah, and in that way, maybe it's some sort of. I mean, this is going deep into the psyche of the man, but maybe in some way that's like a recognition on his part that of the people that he's left behind and the people he acknowledges that he's damaged along the way to you know what I mean, for him to be able to fulfill his dream kind of thing. I don't know.
I think he would have been very young to have come to that realization at that point, but I think he definitely has by Fabelmans.
Yes, that's actually a good point. That's true.
But yeah, I mean, retrospectively, I think that could definitely be read. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it can be read as not trying to put it under the rug, so to speak, but, acknowledging it in some way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think he's trying to reason with it without explaining it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, I think that's what I'm doing too, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I found this aspect of the film more challenging than most people were probably focusing on the sci-fi and stuff, but I'm glad you saw the Fabelmans connection because I was struggling with that particular family dynamic aspect of it, yeah. But I don't know, like his wife's got no, like his wife makes a point that like, how are they going to make a living now because he lost his job? You know what I mean?
There's always another job out there, especially in the 70s.
Are you sure? Yeah, before AI. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm interested in that aspect of things, I guess.
I think I did kind of struggle with it, like as much as you did, because like. There's no kind of anger where you can see the wife as like that unsupportive or anything. Like Roy is definitely, he's definitely the bad guy from anyone else's perspective. So yeah,
right, yeah. I know, yeah, and I mean, an effort is made right from the start to sort of distinguish him and his role in the family, and how he's sort of. I don't know. I don't want to say he's like miserable necessarily, but how he definitely doesn't feel totally in place, in step in his regular life. In that first scene that we get, which I actually thought was pretty entertaining, where like, he's there with his trains or whatever and his son, and like everyone around him's just not gelling with him, basically is the point of the scene, I think. where
I think it's
just
funny
like,
that he threatens to kill his kids twice within like 2 minutes.
I could relate with that stupid kid behind him bashing the toy. That was the most painful thing. So yeah, I didn't necessarily get from that like it's like, oh my god, this guy's depressed. You know what I mean? I didn't necessarily think that was it, but you could tell that it wasn't all quite clicking for him, and I guess him having visions of aliens is what finally allowed him to become his own person. This stuff's hard to reconcile, man. It's interesting. It's
No,
interesting.
I think he's disturbed before the film even starts because I think like the people at his job who fired him don't even want to talk to him. So I think there's like hints that he's already kind of down this path. Yeah. He's also like, I mean, the train thing is also like a symbol, I guess, for like childhood regression or whatever.
The what?
He just wants to escape
sorry,
his-
him playing with a train. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he just wants to like escape his situation.
He loves Pinocchio. He just wants to watch Pinocchio with his kids because he liked it when he was a kid.
Yeah, childhood regression.
Yeah, that's me supporting your ideas there.
Oh, okay. You sound
Evidence.
like you.
Yeah. But maybe another aspect of that made me struggle with it a bit was his relationship with Gillian, who's the single mum, Barry's mum. They kissed.
Yeah, I think that kiss kind of ruined the interpretation for me. Where up until that point, like you could see, it was a deeply intimate relationship without a romance. I thought, and I thought it could be compared to that of like
Some
a
sort of
film
spiritual
unit.
connection.
No, a film unit for like Spielberg and like the coordination, cooperation, and understanding between a director, a writer, a producer, an actor, and all that. And like this kind of deep mutual understanding is what all these people having the same visions, driving them to the same idea, to the same final product could be. And I thought that was fantastic. But then they kiss, so then there is that romantic angle. And I don't know, maybe the director and the writer really just like each other or something. But like, that's how I was reading their relationship, and like the kind of, additives of the other people that also go to Devil's Tower.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that mean that she's Seth Rogen or the aliens are Seth Rogen?
Hey, in Monsters vs. Aliens, Seth Rogen is
he's
Isn't he the blob guy?
Bob, right?
Yeah.
And doesn't Monsters vs. Aliens also like isn't there a scene where he plays the piano and it's like the president plays the piano? It's like a satire of this, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I never realized that. Oh my god, that's exactly what that is. Oh, that's funny.
I was thinking that the whole scene.
Oh, and then doesn't like the ship the ship starts communicating and then like turns on them? Isn't that what happens? I think.
Oh yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Does it communicate back, or does it just start like shooting?
Oh, just I
I don't recall. Yeah.
Everyone, go back and watch Monsters vs. Aliens. We'll do it. We'll do
Next
it in a
time,
few weeks for you. That's really funny. I never thought that. Yeah, I think where I struggled with the film, and where maybe I don't know if this was the same lull you were talking about, Fitzy, but my lull was probably just in their relationship in general. Like I wanted to buy into it more. Like I brought up spiritual connection. I wanted to buy into it more as like this bond of these two people that just had this similar shared experience and needed to see this through. And I think that's what it was, but I just didn't. I don't know. I think when the film turned more plot centric, basically from when they got to Montana, but I think it's sort of from that moment it sort of became like we got to get to the mountain kind of a plot thing. I think my interest dropped a little bit there because I sort of lost a bit of the atmosphere and a bit of the unknown, and it sort of just turned into a bit more of a standard plot driven fare, which I think took me out of it a little bit. I don't know if that's the same section of the film you felt that way for, Fitzy, or not.
No, I think it was before that, honestly, just with the some of those scenes, like that scene at the table, and I don't know, just some of those middle scenes, I guess.
Oh, where they were like doing all this when he was obsessed with the mountain imagery, and they were
oh yeah, that was a bit. They came a bit like because I don't know where that vision actually started. Like
took place, neither.
Yeah, because he mentioned that he was seeing it everywhere, but there was no like initial kind of like stimulus or like a
right,
vision that we saw for it. So Yeah. I guess it was some of
Yeah.
the family stuff that was, a lull. Because that's
Okay.
where the mountain stuff took place.
Yeah. I agree with that. I like the idea of the shared vision, but like I thought I missed something because I didn't understand where it came from. But we're just meant to assume it. Like I could go back and probably understand it when I rewatch it. But like there was obviously some point.
You know?
Sorry?
It just comes from his close encounter. It comes from proximity, probably, doesn't it?
Yeah, I get that, but I didn't understand at what point he started becoming.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when he first started. I don't know. It's not meant to matter, obviously, but I was just kind of like I was confused where the idea of the mountain came from initially. But anyway, yeah, you're right. Did I? Speaking of missing things, did I miss something, or was it like meant to be a plot twist of the idea that they were sending people? This is back to the ending. That they were sending people into the mothership. That they were clearly planning for that.
Oh.
Because they had like an initiative and people ready to go. Like, you're going, and everyone knew like that's what we were doing here. And it's like, hang
it's
on.
not meant to play as a plot twist, I don't think.
But it was a surprise.
I don't even know if that is meant to be like as much as just a plot point. That like it's just about scientific discovery, and like that's the next step that they're taking.
Yeah.
Maybe something can be maybe because like obviously like we know that the aliens took the ships at the start, like sorry, the airplane at the start, and then the ship in the middle of the like desert and stuff like that. Maybe you're meant to read into it because of that. You're like, if they're taking people involuntarily, maybe we can take them. Maybe we'll send them voluntarily, or whatever. But it's like a hostage trade-off or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I don't think it's meant to be like a plot twist, though.
To me, like the second they reveal that there's like people sitting in that side room, like getting briefed of getting ready to go, that was like a twist for me. Yeah, maybe a twist is a strong word. That was a surprise to me, where I was like, that they were planning this the whole time. The whole time they understood, but maybe it's the fact that the whole time they, as in the project managers, the section of the military looking after this, the French guy, like they understood that that's what this initiative was the whole time.
Mm.
And I never thought the initiative was necessarily negative. I didn't think they were like wanting to kill the aliens or anything, but there was still that veil of like, do they just want to make contact? Like, what's their objective at the end of the day, kind of thing. But I guess to me that was the reveal of what that was. And I didn't understand that beforehand, so I thought it was cool.
I mean, I guess the film, like if you want to take all aspects of like the film isn't that interested in motives, I guess, like Roy's motive for like abandoning his family and like what the government is trying to achieve and what the aliens are trying to achieve. I guess maybe that plays into like what like the whole mystery thing. Yeah, like the film doesn't like it doesn't take its time to kind of justify all the reasoning behind everyone's actions, I guess.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. Yeah, I think that's and I think that adds to the whole unknown element of it that makes it interesting. But yeah. And I think that's what makes it stand apart, in my opinion, from Spielberg's filmography. When I think of Spielberg, I think of very plot-driven films, very adventure-oriented films. And maybe that's why I didn't like the Montana stuff the least that I already mentioned, because it's that's when it felt like it got into that territory a little bit. When it's just sort of left to the visual wonder and imagination of it all, without the motive, without the context of objectives, you know what I mean? Or like, that's when it was kind of stripped back and I could just sort of immerse myself in it and experience it, you know. Got some trivia here. Steven Spielberg ran a few tests of computer-generated imagery, but then at that time it was very first stages of development, and he decided that none of it looked believable for the alien spacecrafts. Jane, how did you feel about the result of how the ships, the aliens, all that was achieved?
I think it looked brilliant, man. Like, I think that's a problem. It might be a bit unfair on modern sci-fi film, but I think another sense of wonder that came from this film is just that not knowing how it's done. You know, it's not CG, so how do they do it? And like, it truly feels like kind of fantastical.
Yeah, it does.
Actually. So like, yeah, and then like I was kind of expecting the spaceships to be like kind of static and just kind of move up and down and kind of around, but then like especially when you get like that first kind of encounter scene with the first one, yeah, when he's chasing him and they're kind of like moving around in like kind of odd directions and then kind of twisting and turning and all that. Like it kind of I don't know, like it's kind of like a kind of awesome way to do it. And then like at the end with like the stars moving and then like all the other ships coming into play, it's just such a like fantastic kind of feat of filmmaking that kind of goes back to that thing I said about Brother Bear, where it's like understand how 3D CG works. I can't imagine how 2D animation works. So it's kind of that thing again. It's like I can't fathom trying to like coordinate this in the 70s without a computer.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that several times just for so many shots, to be honest with you. And the thing is, it all looked fantastic. It really did. It all held up great. It felt like I was just watching a comparison of methods, in terms of what we'd see today with CG versus how they did it back then, as opposed to a comparison of like quality. You know what I mean? Like so many, I feel like, I don't know, people go back at old films, including me sometimes, and are like, oh, this shit looks dated or whatever. This shit didn't look dated at all. It just looked different because that they did it differently. But I thought it looked fantastic for what it was. And it would never be done like that today. And if Spielberg made this movie today, he wouldn't do it this way either. You know what I mean? He's not shy of CG at all in 2025. So yeah, no, I thought it all looked fantastic. I thought the mothership was awesome in particular.
Yeah.
He They didn't know what the design was going to be when they were shooting, like all the reactions of all the people and stuff. And he said he came up with the design was cemented in his mind when they were shooting that sequence in India. And every day he said he'd drive past an oil rig. And that's where it sort of came from, is that he knew in his mind that's what he wanted it to sort of resemble loosely, and they nailed it. It was just, it looked really cool. It looked like kind of like there was some sort of like little industrial city in there or something.
Yeah, it did look like a city.
It got your imagination going, yeah.
Yeah, no, like the level of detail in the mothership was like amazing as well. Like that was a reveal, like the whole mothership is obviously like a reveal in itself, but like, like metatextually, where like it's revealing the level of detail that they could achieve back then, which was really cool to see.
Absolutely, yeah. Do you think that the first, like the tall, like the lanky ass, skinny ass alien that we saw, what
that was sick
was
when he came out? Yeah.
Oh, that was absolutely. I mean, to what you said earlier, like I didn't even think we were going to see them, to be honest with you. I expected the doors to open, and then when the humans started coming, actually separate thing. When he came out, like the humans started coming out from the light, that was really cool because it was like, oh my god, are they us? You know what I mean? But then it was just like the stolen dudes. I get that, but then I sort of thought that was going to be it, and then they were just going to leave or whatever.
Yeah.
But so anyway, yeah, you're right. When we saw that was epic. But yeah, what are they? Is that like the president, the mum? Like, what is that? What was that dude? I don't know.
Yeah, well, like it was pretty like scary at first, just because it was kind of, it's kind of spidery like shape or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
every time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I'm just really surprised that I've never seen these aliens in like anything, like a clip or a montage or anything. So I'm surprised they were there at the end. But like, yeah, I think they look obviously like how you'd imagine, like our kind of idea of what aliens look like the common kind of idea. I was wondering if that actually came from this film, because it does look so close to that kind of thing. But I think the initial alien is like different enough, and then the child aliens that we see have this kind of thickness at the back of the head that makes them like distinct enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I think it was like special enough of an addition, and the fact that they didn't communicate or anything, like, the communication was purely through the music earlier, so it was it was the hand thing as well, but they never opened their mouths, which I think was a plus as well. So yeah,
agreed.
The aura is maintained.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it's funny you say it. It's like they walk the line of like the designs weren't so radical. They weren't like Arrival. You know what I mean? They weren't so radical as to like break your convention of what an alien looks like in your mind. but
Mm.
they were just enough interesting to where they were still like I was still locked in. Like it wasn't like it walked that tightrope where I feel like it could have if they were just slightly less well executed, then I could have seen them being like, oh, they're kind of generic looking, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the ships as well, where the ships are like they're what you'd expect, but they have this, you know, they have these colors and this level of detail to them where, you know, they're distinct to this world. Yeah,
100%. And it's yeah, it's what you said earlier that I'm also shocked that I hadn't seen a screenshot of this or like a clip in a video. You know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah, I feel like
just
Family Guy
knowing what
is
they look
bound to
like.
have like a parody of like the little aliens. Like at some point, there's got to be a joke somewhere in Family Guy
India,
where it's like those, with
Yeah,
those little
yeah.
aliens coming up. Yeah,
But I'm just shocked I hadn't. Yeah. I'm also just shocked I haven't seen that. I don't know. Maybe there's some. Maybe people are careful not to spoil it. I don't know. Maybe actually,
I think this is one of his
heinous
least watched
thing to
films
say.
as well. Like of his like famous ones as well.
That's true.
Like I was
Yeah.
looking and like it's at about 400,000 on Letterboxd at the moment, and then
Right.
compared to some of his big stuff, that I don't know, like it's definitely on like the lower end of popularity in terms of Spielberg films.
Which is very interesting. Yeah.
And I mean,
Sure,
this one
you
had to
two
compete
shits
with
on
Star
this.
Wars. You know, it's like
Yeah.
like as like the sci-fi film of the year, let alone of like the decade or like whatever. It's like
Yeah.
it's kind of always going to be in like the shadow, I guess. Although it's
Yeah,
like
that's-
vastly
yeah.
different, obviously. But like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like when people
yeah.
are like, oh yeah, it's the best sci-fi film to ever exist. It's like, oh well, actually, it's not even the best sci-fi film of the year. You know.
Kinda. I mean, I don't. Yeah, so Star Wars isn't sci-fi, Janet, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's me being annoying about it. But I was going to save this trivia, but you've brought up Star Wars, so I'll do it now. After visiting the set of this movie, George Lucas was sure that Close Encounters of the Third Kind would outperform the yet-to-be-released Star Wars at the box office. Spielberg disagreed and felt Lucas's Star Wars would be the bigger hit. With the idea of earning some compensation in case Star Wars was a box office bomb, Lucas proposed a gentleman's agreement with Spielberg, trading 2.5% of the profit on each of their films. Spielberg accepted this deal, and they each still receive that money today.
Damn.
Stephen won that based on the Letterboxd popularity alone, for sure. But yeah,
that's like a
very fun.
peak directors, you know, friendship right there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean that whole group, but like Spielberg and Lucas
Yeah.
specifically, obviously.
So I don't remember from the ILM documentary, but did they do anything for this film, or was ILM in 1977 specifically for Star Wars? Like that?
No,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
no.
right.
ILM had nothing to do with this movie.
Okay.
At this time, it's an interesting question. So this movie came out 6 months after Star Wars. So
Yeah.
I guess it's conceivable. I don't think they said anything about it. Though.
No, but then like at the same time, like with kind of designs in this scale, and
Yeah.
you know your friend has this asset that he's just been building for his other film, like
Yeah, I mean they were all on Star Wars for as long as that took, but it's just
true.
I don't know. Like I'm just the only thought I had was like in the 6 months between, could they have helped done something? I don't know.
Mm.
Got no idea.
I've got a did the mothership start playing Jaws?
Really?
Did
I did
it?
not catch that.
I thought it did. Not tone for tone, but like
Yeah.
it was just obscured enough that you could like arguably say no. But I mean, like obviously it's a Spielberg film, like 2 years earlier. Like why would it not? Like it just felt like there was a bit of a duh kind of thing.
I did not catch that. Yeah, it just plays like all of his leitmotifs, you know.
And just on that, is John Williams best work? Question mark.
Oh God, no! But it was. I did enjoy it.
I loved it. Yeah, I
You
thought
did?
It was great. Yeah.
Well, it was. So it must be up there for you though, because I know you're not like the biggest Williams guy.
Yeah, he's good.
But but like for this film, I mean,
Yeah,
like, you know.
I thought this was
This
like
should be
great
up
stuff.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The John Williams score was created before the film was edited. Spielberg edited the film to match the music, a reverse of what is usually done in the film scoring process. Both Spielberg and Williams felt that it ultimately gave the film a lyrical feel.
Mm.
Jan agrees. They did it. but there are some really cool scenes. I think like the opening scene in the desert's awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In
I
the
was
Mexican
confused
desert.
as to what I was watching at first. I was like, hold on, like, this doesn't seem like Close Encounters. Like, did I click on the right thing? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like all those ships, like that ship they find in the Mongolian desert, which was sick.
Yeah. All the
That's
global
like a real
scenes.
ship that went missing.
Oh really?
Oh.
That's a real ship. Sorry, I should say that's a real ship that went missing in the Bermuda Triangle. So it's
Mm.
like playing into the whole like
Oh,
this,
okay.
in this
That's
film's
cool.
lore, like the Bermuda Triangle is aliens.
Mm.
It's them. Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
Fitzy, you were saying about the globetrotting thing because I liked all these scenes where the scientists went out and about.
Yeah, no, they were. I mean, they gave the film a sense of scale, I guess, and then I think the India sequence, like where we get the hands pointing in the sky, which I feel like I've seen somewhere. Maybe it's been parodied, but that was really awesome as well. Yeah.
That's the thing. You go when you've seen it before, you've always got to think it's been parodied. Has it been? Where have I seen it?
Well, even with like the Devil's Tower, like I'm pretty sure that does get used in Paul,
yeah.
and I'm pretty sure it gets. I mean,
Oh.
maybe not explicitly used in Race to Witch Mountain, like the 2011 remake. I'm trying to think if it was like substituted for like another like generic kind of rock formation, but like seeing the Devil's Tower and like now knowing that like that's why you kind of have these like natural like kind of American like landscapes that are so like intrinsically linked with like sci-fi films that came after it, probably because of this.
Yeah. Oh, almost definitely because of this.
I mean, unless there's something that Spielberg's basing it off as well. It's just I'm not sure if there is, but yeah.
I had never seen that
Devil's Tower.
natural. No,
Really? Oh.
no. I thought it was sick. I was like,
Mm.
why have I never seen that? I want to go there. That's cool. This film is shown every night at the Devil's Tower campground in Montana, thereby making it one of the most screened movies ever.
Huh.
I mean, for the staff there, they'd probably be absolutely infuriated by watching this movie every night, but not that they have to watch it. But yeah, that is cool that they continue to play it there for sure. I really liked the air traffic control scene.
Mm.
I thought that
Mm.
scene was really tense, and like apparently that's like a real air traffic control room with like real people. I was like, wow.
It's probably like a good scene as well, just like on like the theme of communication that runs throughout the film. Miscommunication between the family, but then communication between the air traffic control and then between the aliens and the humans at the end, and then modes of communication with
The
like hands and all
translator
that shit.
as well.
Yeah, the translator. Yeah. I think that was a good scene to function with like another theme.
Cold War, anti-Cold War shit. Communication solves problems.
Mm.
You know, being open-minded to other. Sorry, I'm stretching it a bit, but yeah, that's interesting. Why? One thing I didn't quite get in that scene. Why did like the people over the like? I think they were like the pilots or whoever they were speaking to. Why did they not want to make a report?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting as well. Maybe out of fear of being like seen as like crazy or whatever.
That's sort of the tone that came across when they said no, right?
Yeah.
And how they, I think so. That's sort of.
Or maybe it may be a
Yeah.
comment on like McCarthyism, and it's like they don't want to report on like their mate in the sky being like
They
you
want to
know,
rat on their
yeah,
on their commie mates, yeah.
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 I like
Hey,
I like how much
okay.
tension was kind of placed in that moment though, like the
Yeah.
question of whether they want to report. Give like wait.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, I was gonna make a shitty joke that the aliens were communists, but that's fine.
I mean, historically, that's what they were, you know.
Oh yeah. So Spielberg's a communist? Is that what we're saying?
Could be.
Wow. Carrie, I don't know how you say this kid's name. Carrie Guffey, who's the kid who played Barry, little Toddy. His performances were so good that they only had to do 1 or 2 takes of each shot he was in. He became known as One Take Carrie on the set, and Steven Spielberg had a T-shirt printed up for him with the phrase written on it.
Huh.
That's great. Dude, this kid's performance was unbelievable. Straight up. Every little look he gave in this film was like he had. I don't know if I've ever seen a human face with such screen charisma in my life. It was like insane. It was insane. And like the thing is, like, I feel like it's a bit of a stretch to call it a performance because I was also reading all throughout the trivia. But the first thought I had when the note I took down in like one of his first scenes was like, what were they doing off camera to get him to react this way?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
what were they poking out or whatever? And then I read in the trivia, like, you know the scene where he, like, looks in awe and then, like, he smiles?
Mm.
In that particular shot, it was a person dressed in a gorilla costume who surprised him, and then he took off the mask, and then that's when he smiled.
Oh.
So they were doing shit like this to get all these reactions, which I thought was the case. So it feels, I can't even really, I don't know if I can call it a performance. They're basically just tricking this kid into making faces, is all they're doing. But that kid had some really good, very, what's the word? Like screen, oh my God. Like
Presence?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yes. But it was not, like, the camera just ate up his
Awareness.
face. You know what I mean?
No, no.
The camera loved his face in this film. You know what I mean? I don't know if this, so much so that I also read that Stanley Kubrick saw this film and wanted to cast him as Danny in The Shining,
Oh.
based on that. But again, I don't know. Like, is it really? I don't know if that would really work. Is it acting? You know what I mean? Is the kid? I don't know. I haven't seen The Shining. Is the kid? The kid sounds like an important role that is actually like he needs to act.
Oh yeah. Danny's like big.
He's like one of the main characters, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so I
Danny's
don't know
performance
if
is amazing.
getting him-
Anyway.
Oh, okay, cool. There you go. I don't know if this kid like getting to pull faces would translate.
No.
But-
and especially with like Kubrick's notorious for like doing multiple takes, so I don't know if Carrie and
Oh
Carrie
yeah,
would match
one
up.
take Harry.
Yeah.
Would one take Kerry might not gel with Kubrick's working style.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man.
The kind of night skies that they kind of look like these painted kind of things. And just like the landscapes in general, you have this very cool like these dark blues and nice blacks. You know, they're very, but they're like like pure kind of Americana as well. They're very, very cool. Some of the backdrops in this film, yeah, and they blend perfectly with the kind of, the models for the aliens as well. They just kind of gel very nicely. So, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I definitely agree. Okay. Andy wrote in his review for Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and he said, "It is one of those Steven Spielberg classics that I've never seen before, and I could also tell how it's a film solely made by him in terms of its themes and sense of wonder. While most of Spielberg's more well-known films are more vocal about their adventures and have rather popular concepts, such as those dinosaur movies, those explorer films with Indiana Jones that we know Dr. Luke really loves, or the kids' films about a crinkly alien friend. This one feels more complex and required longer build-up in comparison because it's a spiritually interesting yet obsessive journey about chasing the ideal vision that Roy is burning to discover for himself throughout the movie, something not accessible to many younger audiences yet. It's also seemingly Spielberg's most personal work because not only does it feel like the process of creating something, but he actually got to direct the material he wrote, which is quite rare. I've got trivia about that. I forgot to read. I'll get to that. Watching this might sound boring, but the scope of this picture still provides a granted sense of adventure and mystery, and Spielberg has captured that feeling successfully because he delivered such a rich movie that's both equally moving and fascinating. This is my favorite Spielberg because it feels less emotionally manipulative than some of his more popular stuff. Also, his most stunning achievement in lighting artistry ever. The special effects and maybe miniatures for the UFOs make the visuals look hypnotically ecstatic. Andy making me... is Andy deliberately like putting these words in to make me have to get my mouth moving? The late oh my God, okay, can I get this right? The late Francois
Truffaut.
Truffaut?
Truffaut. Francois Truffaut.
Truffaut?
Mm.
Okay. Perhaps my favourite French filmmaker plays a major role in this film, which I was pleased and surprised about.
I
But
was
that is
wondering
not
if
the
Andy
main
knew
reason.
about that. Yeah.
You're wondering what, sorry?
I was wondering if Andy knew that Francois was in this film.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Plays a major role, which I was pleased and surprised about, but that is not the main reason why I've given this a full score. Close Encounters of the Third Kind is just a perfect yet subtle mystery about the prospect of different beings, with many aspects being explored authentically, particularly Spielberg's divorce cinema coming into the fold in his third feature, as per the domestic drama with Roy's family that felt so unsettling and depressing to watch. Agreed. And captured with artificial transcendence. The result itself, though, was satisfyingly bizarre, but that's the fun with discoveries. Harold Holt will be waiting. 10 out of 10. Thanks, Andy. Harold Holt will indeed be waiting. Agreed. What was the? That's really funny. What is the trivia here I had about the script? Where can I find it? Paul Schrader wrote the original script. When Steven Spielberg changed a great deal of it, Schrader decided to remove his credit. Since the film couldn't be left with no credit for writing, Spielberg claimed it for himself. So there you go.
Ah,
That's really interesting. That's
it's kind of like AI, because didn't Kubrick originally write AI, and then like when you watch it, it feels like there was never. Well, actually, there's some like kind of coldness to the film that still like lingers, but it's kind of the same in like how I can't even really imagine Paul Schrader. Like that's just kind of crazy that Paul Schrader had any say in this, because like everything I've seen from Schrader is just so different from this, and this feels like pure Spielberg.
What has Schrader written? Sorry.
Oh, like Taxi Driver and
Gee.
like darker stuff like that, like the Card Counter and.
it's funny that the Card Counter is the first Paul Schrader film that came to mind as well.
Yeah, what else is he's done other big things.
I think he has a new film coming out, doesn't he?
But
Yeah, I
like
can
nothing
see
with
what you
any
mean.
sense of freaking whimsy, you know, it's pretty much the opposite.
No, 100%. Yeah. So, he obviously, I mean, by the sounds like Spielberg changed a lot of it. So, I think we can get to our final verdicts for Close Encounters. Let's do it. Jaden.
I've been trying to be a bit more liberal with my tens. Like this week, I upped quite a few films.
Wow.
So I think this is going to get my first liberal 10 of this new Jaden.
Nice. I like that.
I think it was brilliant. I really, really do. I just think that there's so much that went into it that just functions so perfectly. Like right down to like the shot selection for like just the shot selection constantly amazed me. And the effects it had on putting on like the scene in total. Like it really was just kind of masterful work. I know in the early days I used to clown on Spielberg a bit. I don't really know why. I don't know. Maybe
No, I know why. It's fine.
why? Too popular was
Just,
it?
you
Yeah.
made Jurassic Park and all that shit. You know what I mean? Dinosaur
I don't know.
slop.
Mate, probably was that me trying to be a bit contrarian.
No, I know what you meant.
But like, he really is like one of the masters of the genre of the format
Of cinema.
of cinema.
Yeah, he is. He also, don't forget, he made Ready Player One, which is dog shit. So
No, Ready Player One's
just keep
great.
Just keep that in mind.
I think the main reason I clown him actually is for a film I haven't even seen, which is Lincoln, which I've just like heard and just imagined to be dog shit boring to like the nth degree.
Oh, I like Lincoln.
Yeah,
Lincoln's good. Lincoln's up my alley, though, to be
yeah.
fair. Dog shit. It's not. I definitely
that
don't
that
think
and
it's
War
dog
of the
shit
Worlds is like what makes me clown on him.
boring. Oh, yeah, that's dog shit for sure.
Yeah. And Minority Report. Yeah.
This, as I already said, this film already makes War of the Worlds just only way more confusing of why he made that. But yeah.
Mm.
Man, I'm going to... Sorry, yes?
No, it's okay.
Damn it. I'm going to give this film an 8. I was going to give it... I think right when I finished it, I was going to give it a 7. And then when I started thinking about the Cold War stuff, that's bumped it up for me. And I think being in that place and time, it's worth... That's the value of the experience he was making at the time, and I think that's very valuable for sure. So yeah. And it was awesome.
Yeah, I'll also give it an 8. I think just those moments of, you know, the encounters are so cool, and I mean, as you into like the shot selection as well, like that. What was the kid's name? What was Harry's name? Barry or something.
Barry.
Like I've seen that shot before of him at the door with like
yeah.
the orange lights, that just kind of fill the landscape. Like those kind of shots which come every now and again in the film are just kind of amazing. So yeah, I think, I definitely want to return back to this someday, because I think it's a very, very strong film, and yeah, one of Spielberg's best, I guess. So yeah, 8 out of 10.
Well done, Stephen. Well done.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it. We can. Did you want to say your piece now?
War of the Worlds? No,
Is that what you were going to say? I don't know.
It's okay. No, all right.
Okay, all right, fair
I
enough.
already defended that film.
The moral
I
of
tried to back in the day.
Oh yeah, no. Thank God I drowned you out for that. Then that's fine. Yeah. Now it's time for our highlights of the week. Fitzy, I'll stick with you. What have you been watching?
I watched Perfect Days.
Oh, you coward!
Which was alright. I was okay. Yeah, I don't know. It was alright. What was so good about that film, guys? Can you help me?
You might need to re-listen to the podcast.
Yeah, dude.
I did listen to it. It was a good episode. I listened to it in full. Maybe I should have listened to it after I watched it.
You didn't get the shock reveal of Spooky's revelation about like he goes through that painful.
He cries every day.
He cries every day, man.
Yeah. Well, no, I definitely do agree with that interpretation, though, that he's basically coping and that he's like a former... Like, the interpretation of the film that makes the most sense to me is that he's kind of a former addict, or like he was a former something, like his lifestyle really wasn't working out for him. Like, it doesn't... The appreciation of nature and stuff by itself without any previous context, it doesn't really... the film doesn't really make sense in that regard, I guess. So I do like that addition at the end. But I don't know, it would have been cool if that was more integrated, I guess. Because there is a lot of just like trolloping around that he does that is kind of whatever.
That's the point.
But it's not the point though, because he's really sad, so you gotta, play more into that. But yeah, I don't know, it was good, okay. Like, leave me alone. Yeah, the songs
What
were good.
what number indicates that good?
6 is
What
good.
number? Yeah, okay.
You want me to reveal my exact score?
Yeah.
Everyone listening should follow us on Letterboxd so they know.
Everyone listening does follow us on Letterboxd.
Oh man, if they don't, they should. But yeah, you're probably right. All right, well that's disappointing. Next up, I watched Hearts of Darkness this week, which is the Making of Apocalypse Now documentary. Can I just say how fitting? I didn't intend this. How fitting this all is now, because we've got Spielberg shooting this film, Lucas shooting Star Wars, and Francis shooting his film. These were simultaneous productions. So
wow.
Look at that. The stars are aligning here. This documentary was awesome. If you like Apocalypse Now, if you like making of documentaries, and this is one of the best ones I've seen. It's really, really cool. I think the most interesting stuff was just the fact that, like, so all the documentary footage comes from Francis's wife Eleanor, like, being there every day on the production, just like shooting everything basically. And so you just get there's just a lot of Francis just Francis, like being Francis on set. You get a lot of it, and like him just random conversations he's having with the actors, and random like conversations he's calling people back in Hollywood, and like basically the whole time like thinking the movie's going to be terrible, and how he's got it's just so I find it's like for him it was like the most stressful shit ever. In hindsight, it is genuinely hilarious to watch. Like, I actually was very entertained by it in the simplest sense of the word, because it was just like him freaking out, him saying how this movie's going to fall apart, how he's putting his own money on the line, and it's just actually funny because of like how it turned out. That's why it's funny, and like it's all in retrospect, you know. And he's just on every day on set with his shirt off, just like sometimes just spouting this philosophical shit about filmmaking and stuff, and like why he's here as an artist, and like not wanting to be a pretentious artist and all this kind of shit. It's just so good. I loved it so much. It's just, I don't know, man. And the fact that like he's saying all this shit, not knowing what he's making, is just so cool. I don't know. I love it so much.
It sounds like he became Kurtz with like the monologues or whatever.
The documentary makes the parallel often is that they basically all became the characters, although they all like went on the journey that the film takes you on. Basically, is like what the documentary ends up. So that's why it's sort of called that, I think. It's like, so, I mean, it goes into the whole thing we talked about on the episode about how Martin Sheen like had a heart attack and like was actually breaking down and all that stuff they shot in the hotel, and that was all really interesting because you get like the raw just footage of that, and like Francis like in the background like during the takes just like saying shit to prompt the actors. Like he does that with Marlon Brando a lot. Brando turned up and didn't know anything and was basically a hindrance in every way. And like there's all this awesome footage of like them doing these long takes with Brando, like all the stuff we know from the film that's just cinematic and sick as hell as we know it today with him in the shadows and stuff. But like when you get the raw footage of him just going on and on and on, and like Francis is just there in the background, like just throwing, like Brando will say some like crazy, like meant to be poetic dialogue or whatever, and he doesn't even know what he says. He's just going on. And then Francis will just like throw a prompt at him, and then Marlon will just be like, huh? What? And then Francis has to repeat himself. And it's just seeing it all completely uncut is just hilarious. And like this is the shit that he had to stitch together. You know what I mean? And like the whole time how the movie had no ending. Like, well, the original ending was that it was going to end in like this sort of action sequence with like a helicopter fight, and it was going to end in a very traditional sort of action tropey way. And Francis hated it, and basically had to take all this time to rewrite it. He was basically rewriting it the whole time while he was on set, and like even up until the end, didn't really think he had an ending. Like, and like how the ending is basically constructed in the edit, and it's all very interesting. Basically, you can tell how much I liked it by how I'm talking about it. So I'd recommend if you're interested in this stuff at all and the film, check it out. It was very cool. I liked it a lot. Sorry, just Marlon Brando walking around set during takes and just going, huh? And then there was this one time he was in the middle of dialogue and he was just like, I swallowed a bug. It was just so funny, man. I can imagine, dude. If I could so easily like seeing all that, I could so easily just be seeing Francis behind the camera, just being like, "I'm fucked." Like, what the fuck is this? It was so funny. All right,
what you watch it on?
It was on DocPlay.
What's that?
Yeah, the documentary streaming service I've plugged before, Jaden. You didn't check it out last time?
No. How much do you pay for DocPlay?
I don't pay anything, mate.
No. DocPlay.
I think it's like, isn't it like $9 a month? I don't know. I think it's like pretty standard.
Wow. I think how many movies
you can get it with your Amazon. It's one of those Amazon channels. Sorry, what was that?
How many movies do you watch on DocPlay for your $9 a month?
Oh, I don't know. Probably watch a few a year.
Interesting.
Yeah. Jaden, I feel your judgment, but what have you been watching?
I watched this film called Gonjam Horror Asylum. It's this Korean film from like 2018. It's a found footage horror film. It's kind of similar to this Yankee film from 2006 called Grave Encounters, where like it's these ghost busting guys that go into like an asylum, and then shit ensues. The difference is that like this is fantastic. Grave Encounters is a bit of fun. But Gonjam Asylum is genuinely like one of the scariest experiences that I've had. Maybe because I was watching it at like 1:30 in the morning and like I was like scared. I don't know, I was scared shitless, man. It's a victim of the found footage genre because as a found footage film, you're always going to be compared to Blair Witch, and as such, people are like, oh, it's good, but it's not as good as Blair Witch because they're idiots. But to me, it's the opposite thing. Well, I can compare it to Blair Witch, and I can compare how much better it is. I find it so bewildering that people have the audacity to call these characters like annoying, and they're like, "Oh, unlike Blair Witch, these characters are annoying." Like, fucking, you're like, what do you mean? Like, Blair Witch is like the epitome of dog shit, boring, like annoying characters. Like, these guys have chemistry. They're funny. They're like YouTube like kind of creators in Gonjam Asylum. And like they have like banter and like it's kind of funny, and like they're just so much more engaging and kind of better to watch. And the horror is truly like next level. It features some kind of typical stuff in a couple scenes, that you can kind of see coming, and like, but there are some like this features like probably two of my favorite horror kind of like two of my favorite like kind of scares in horror film history. It is such a brilliant film. I just really wish people would stop comparing it
to Blair Witch in the wrong way. Free your mind of Blair Witch, and your wonder will be endless, boundless for good products.
I thought you were the head out of your system. Like,
no, Blair Witch is still dog shit. Like in the episode we did, I came around a little, like a touch. It is still a deeply, deeply flawed film, and that is just terrible, and should definitely never be seen as like the standard for found footage.
If you had it your way, you would actually just like kill Blair Witch from ever existing. And
yes,
then,
yes,
the whole genre
I
would be saved.
For anyone getting into horror, I would encourage them not to watch Blair Witch and just watch other found footage films. That's just the best way to go about it.
Why? Because then they'll think Blair Witch is good, and then
well, yeah, because I think the only reason Blair Witch has such a iconic status is because it was the first. Maybe not the first, but maybe one of the big first. I think it was the first. Fuck it, I'll call it the first. Who cares? But literally every found footage film that's come after is better. Wreck is better. Paranormal Activity is better. Cloverfield is better. Gone Jump is better. Grave Encounters is better. Found footage only got better because it learned from everything Blair Witch did wrong, which was nearly everything. Blair Witch has one good scene, and that's when she's in the house at the end, in the corner, looking scary as shit. One good thing
that was good
that Blair Witch does, and that many found footage films now take from. Even Gone Jump has a homage to that, because that is fantastic. But then everything else about Blair Witch, dog shit. Sorry, I was talking about Gone Jump though. And it's fantastic. If you can find it, I'd encourage you to watch it.
Oh, I was about to do my thing.
I love.
Yeah, no, I rented it on Amazon. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. It's not like the most successful film of all time. Success.
No, I think Paranormal Activity beats it out on that in terms of like money spent versus money made.
Oh, like margin. Ah. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be a horror film, no matter what, right?
Yeah, all right.
You'd imagine.
Yeah,
you'd imagine.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it probably is those. It probably is like Blair Witch and Paranormal Activity, probably the two big ones. Get Out, although it was like substantially bigger, like out of $5 million odd budget, but like the returns on that were massive as well. So that might be up there.
Now comes the segment where we hand the show over to you, or to one person, with our question of the show. Last week we asked you, what is an unconventional belief that you entertain? No one liked this question. Everyone disliked that. But Andy did write in and said, I don't really have an interesting unconventional belief, more of a crazy suggestion, but I've always been intrigued. Actually, I didn't, should I read? I can read this, right?
Wait, let me have a look at it.
No, fuck it, I'll read it. But I've always been more intrigued with the idea of communism.
Oh.
I don't think it's generally as bad as it sounds, but when high-profile figures like Jackie Chan loves to be a CCP pet and pretends to acknowledge that he's more Beijing than Hong Kong, of course fans like myself and mainstream audiences will find the communist influences insufferable. No, I don't mind reading that. That's fine.
Dude, I'm gonna be in Shanghai in like 6 weeks. I don't want this.
I read Andy's words. I read it. Jaden strongly disagrees. Jaden loves Shanghai. Loves it.
Jaden even loves the CCP. To spend a night there. Yeah.
He loves the CCP. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I got it. So Andy's unconventional belief that he entertains is communism. Got it. Thank you, Andy. Thank you very much for writing in there. Okay. It's the most lonely question of the week ever. Can it make us even more lonely here in a minute? Let's find out. Fitzy, what is an unconventional belief that you entertain?
I guess I'm not against like any conspiracy theory which like any real world conspiracy theory which involves the American government. I'll entertain, some of those, I won't name any like specific ones, but
can you pick one out for us?
Anything that is Oliver Stone pilled, I will, entertain and, yeah.
what are Oliver Stone's thoughts on the moon landing?
I reckon he'd believe that shit. I reckon he's not that that far gone.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's like George Collins said, where interests align, with very powerful people, there is no need for an organized conspiracy. It's just, shit makes sense.
I can't tell. Does that mean is that an anti-conspiracy theory comment or a pro one?
Like at some point, maybe there was a bunch of powerful guys in the room that said this is going to happen, but like, there's no need for a structure of like a lot of people to know that a conspiracy is taking place or something is taking place for it to happen. There only needs to be like a little trinkle from the top for something big to happen, You know what I mean?
Oh, I see. So you say what? Okay, so it's a support. It's an idea of supporting them in the sense that it doesn't require a lot of knowledge for them to be the case. It doesn't require a large.
Yeah, it doesn't require a lot of knowledge from a lot of people. It only requires a little push from the top, or like some people to agree, some very powerful people. So
it's an argument against the idea that for that to be the case, then
all these
10,000 people,
government agents
10,000 people would have to keep the secret.
Yeah. That's like never the case.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. Yeah. So does that mean that which one's more controversial, the 9/11 conspiracy theory or the moon landing conspiracy theory?
How do you mean controversial?
Less accepted. Let's say. I know they're not. I know neither of them are accepted at all. To be clear,
I think moon landing would be less accepted. I think.
Okay.
Well, sure.
Wait, sorry. I mean, like the moon landing conspiracy would be less accepted. I think that's easier to believe in than 9/11. Sorry. 9/11 being an inside job is easier to believe than the moon landing being fake.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's easy to see where the direct economic interest is with 9/11. But like with the moon landing, it's more vague.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of pretty. It sounds like it'd be pretty egotistical, right?
It's kind of what Interstellar mentions in that it's like a race to bankrupt Russia, essentially.
Right. Yeah. I can see an argument, but yeah, I agree with you. I think the direct effect of 9/11 is more obvious. Okay. All right. No, that's fair enough. I mean, hey, unconventional beliefs that I entertain, where to begin? Oh man. So I watched this documentary. Have you guys heard of this documentary on Netflix called Ancient Apocalypse?
I think I've heard of it, but haven't watched it. Yeah.
This is an unconventional belief that I entertain. And it's basically its thesis is that there may have been a more advanced civilization of humans or of whatever you want to call, like subrace, whatever, before the last ice age that were then wiped out. And I won't, you got to watch the whole fucking thing. But the idea is that there are traces and evidence of this civilization existing that often current day archaeologists are submissive of. Is that the right? That's not the word. They wipe it away.
Ignorant.
Dismissive.
Dismissive.
Dismissive of is what I meant.
Submissive. What are you watching?
Sorry. Are dismissive of because they basically over time it basically just challenges modern archaeology because they've sort of been stuck in their ways and stuff. But like things actually point to there being other explanations for things. And if you look back, I honestly couldn't even begin. Like the whole thing stacks on like all these examples, but like certain pyramids being built at certain times, if you trace back how long ago they were built, it sort of doesn't really line up with the people there at the time. Shit like that, where you can sort of point to like things don't really add up in the commonly accepted story of how these civilizations expanded and all that kind of shit. And that the explanation for these oddities would be that there was a more advanced human civilization that existed with more advanced technology that went extinct during the last ice age. And their sort of remnants were felt in the different structures that than the remaining cultures built in these certain pyramids and fucking temples and whatever, and understandings of astrology. What's it called? Astronomy and all that kind of shit. Anyway,
Do you think they had like rap music? Do you think they evolved to that point?
well, like part of it is like they could have had like levitation devices.
But like, how I don't understand how you like. I mean, like obviously this isn't what the point is. Like, it's just meant to be you voicing this. But like, how could a civilization be wiped out so entirely as to not have like any substantial trace? Like, surely like an advanced civilization would have a more substantial trace than, something not adding up in a general timeline of
Well,
history.
I think the idea. I want to be clear. I don't want to like make it sound like I'm like arguing this like I strongly believe it.
No, you
but
are.
like I think I think it's very interesting though, and I take it seriously. I think the idea is that there are traces. It's just that archaeology has other explanations for them that we've just already accepted, which are not accurate, or that are being challenged. Rather, they could be accurate.
Yeah, but if it's only a couple things, like
No, it's more than a couple of things, but
Hmm.
it's got to do with like fucking like all these like finding roads under the ocean and shit like this, remnants of Check it out. Watch all 8 hours of it. Like I did.
holy shit, 8 hours.
I actually don't know how long. It was probably I don't know how long it was. Yeah, it's interesting. Shannon, what is an unconventional belief that you entertain?
I don't know. Like, I genuinely don't think I do have any. I don't know. Like, I was hoping like maybe you guys would say something that I kind of agree with. Like, maybe we can shout something out. Like, I think I agree with Liam's train of thought to an extent, like that. Like, I think the CIA and the American government have definitely doing and have done some terrible shit to its people and experimenting and type of that stuff. Like, I think it's pretty undeniable given like with some of the stuff that they've already declassified and seeing what it is, like to say that they're not doing X thing currently or that they might have an involvement in Y thing. Like, I don't think it's that ridiculous.
No.
I don't really know much else.
What about Blair Witch? You don't like the Blair Witch Project?
Yeah, like I guess my most outlandish belief is that the Blair Witch Project is dog shit propaganda from like indie filmmakers trying to make a quick buck.
You're not into like paranormal shit?
Nah.
Okay, all right.
I guess to an extent, like I think it's interesting that like a long time ago, like I had a conversation with one of our friends. I was like, "Yeah, I believe in ghosts," but it's like, "Well, but you're not. But you're an atheist." So like, how can you believe in ghosts? I'm like, I don't think those two are mutually exclusive. Like inclusive. Like you don't need to believe in like a certain afterlife for like the existence of a paranormal. But even then, like I don't really know how much I even believe in a paranormal. Like as much as it is just like your mind playing tricks on you if you're in like a certain situation. I mean, like aliens, sure, yes, but like that's not that outlandish as you've established.
No.
I don't know. Honestly, 9/11 is like probably the big one that I can buy into.
Yeah, okay.
like that is the big one. Yeah.
Yeah, but how much do you buy into it?
I mean, I don't believe that they detonated the tower. Like the tower collapsed because a plane crashed into it. But people talking about how jet fuel doesn't burn steel beams are fucking idiots. But like it's like Liam said, like the 5 billion going missing the day before it happened, and then it's an excuse to invade the Middle East and exploit them of their resources, and to establish an American interest within a very volatile, kind of isolated in terms of like Western ideology, like region. I think it makes shit tons of sense. But the other thing is like the CIA has invested shit tons in like the Middle East, and like they've given tons of money and weapons to certain cells there. It's like just to deny, like I don't know, like they've even if like indirectly they've had a part in like funding and guiding terrorism there.
100%.
So like
yeah.
like they definitely could have caused it.
Yeah. I guess the only thing I definitely agree with that. I was just questioning whether challenging that in relation to if they were involved in the cause of 9/11 or not, or if it was just an excuse they could use. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think when it comes to the military, like the monetary loss and the subsequent invasion of the Middle East, and I mean, even if you want to say it happened in 2003, they've been involved in the Middle East for like decades, like prior to that, like in just in different regions. Like they've always been trying to have a controlling interest in some country there.
Well, that was a fantastic conversation. That was very interesting for people. I hope everyone enjoyed it. As we talked about 9/11. Okay. As always, we'd love you to submit your responses, thoughts, and or reviews for next week's film in the YouTube or Instagram comment sections, or join the Discord server. This week, the specific question we'll be asking you is returning to something. This feels like a palate cleanser after that. You know, this feels nice. Where was I? Oh, what is your favorite car? Let us know what your favorite car is. It's our question of the week. Yeah, right in with that. All right. That's it for this week's episode of Cinema Effect. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Fitzy, what are we doing next week?
We're doing a friend of Steven Spielberg, one of his movies, American Graffiti, directed by George Lucas. Kind of his big film after THX, before Star Wars, you know. So yeah, it's on Foxtel. I'm the only one who's seen it so far. So, yeah.
Back when George Lucas was a pure filmmaker and making Star Wars ruined his entire expression of making films.
Yeah, totally.
Because then he was pigeonholed forever and then never did anything else. So there you go. Okay, that's it. Appreciate Liam and Jaden for joining me as always. Have a great rest of your week and goodbye.